Hey there, good afternoon, and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back at This Week, which is a show that I do every week on this channel that pretty much talks about what I'm going to be doing coming forward in the channel. Do a little bit more about what happened in the past as well. So we had some good stuff last week. I basically wanted to bring up the past because the Kiss Dynasty, which was supposed to come out on Monday, look back at the classic rock album, didn't come out. First of all, I had trouble recording it. Then once I got it recorded, I couldn't upload it. And once I uploaded it, it didn't take, and there was a problem with it, so I had to remove it. And by the time I did all this, it was already like way past the time, so I just decided that we'll just do it again this week for a classic rock album look back. So I do apologize for that one full play this week, but sometimes the internet and my computer don't talk to each other very well. Anyways, we're back this week with another episode of what we do on this channel for the week coming up, and also some of the stuff that might be coming up in the future that might be of interest to people. Nothing of interest is coming up in the near future because I wanted to concentrate more on some of the new shows that I've launched over the last month or so to try and establish them as being routine for me. So the first show that will come up normally this week is the Great Album Challenge, which alternates one week with Ben's Album Challenge, the next week with the Great Album Challenge. Both of them put to me by Ben. In the case of the Great Album Challenge, what he does is he chooses 10 albums from a specific year, and then he gives me those 10 albums and I rank them according to my own preference. And generally speaking, last week it was a little bit different. He was kind of like almost flip-flopped in some ways on some things, but that's okay. So he gives me his 10 and then I rank them the way I see them. And then, of course, he'll usually come online after that, and in the comments below, he'll put his 10 so that people see the difference in our choices. You know, it's the funny thing about music; it's so subjective. Some people see things completely one way, and other people don't see them at all. You know. Sorry, my shirt is kind of crooked here. Not really sure why. Anyway, so that's usually the first show that comes out. It comes out on Sunday night around 8 o'clock. For Ben's Album Challenge. This year we're doing the year 1984. He's chosen 10 albums for me already. This one's a bit different. There's about 3 or maybe 4 of the albums on there that I've actually never listened to before, other than bits and pieces from here and there. So I did listen to them all today as I go through everything that I'm getting ready for the week. I did listen to them all. Actually, yesterday I listened to them. And So I am familiar with them all, but as I rank them, I will talk to you about why they rank in a certain way. Some people will be surprised that some are lower than others and others are higher, but a lot of it has to do with listening and history, and you know, some of these albums have had up to 35 or 40 years history. Some of them have one listen, so it's pretty hard to say that album's better when you haven't listened to it enough. Anyways, so that's what we'll be doing for the Great Album Challenge this week, the year 1984, with 10 albums to be ranked. Okay, look back at a classic rock album. We're going to try it again. This time, Kiss's Dynasty. Yeah, I talked to us about it last week, about how we were going to talk about this album being a critical album in my history, because this is the album that changed me from just being a Kiss fan, which is pretty much what I was up until, well, the same year, and the album just pushed it more in motion to develop myself into more interested in a lot of other rock bands and a lot of other rock music. So without this album, maybe I would have stayed a Kiss fan longer, who knows. Okay, so the next show we usually do is Wednesday Night Favorites, which has become a bit of a, I think it's probably the most popular show on here, usually getting between somewhere in 150 to 200 views in the first couple days. Last week we did the 25 most iconic, or the 25 greatest, most iconic rock bands in history. So this week we're going to be doing a part B of that set. The first one went very well. Lots of debate over my number one choice anyways with a few people. That's fine. That's what this is all about. That's what I want, is debate over it. Just because I pick something to be in a number one spot doesn't mean I'm right. It could be completely wrong. Or in most cases, because it's so subjective, it's just my own personal views about it. Other people had a completely different view of who should be in that number one spot. And to be honest, the band that they chose to put in that number one spot would be hard to argue against. Many people feel the same way. I wore this shirt today most of the day, and I've had at least a half dozen people say they're the best band they've ever heard. You know, maybe if I wore the other shirt, I might have got the same thing, but I don't know, because I didn't wear the other shirt. I only wore this one. So, anyways, that's what it's all about, though, is to, talking about why these bands are so popular and why for you some of them are much higher up than say others are. For me, Rush would be number one, but unfortunately I don't get to decide who's the most iconic band in the world. I tried to choose those bands based on my observations, what I've seen over the years, and tried to place them in an order that I thought was a fairly accurate representation of those bands. Not taking into consideration my own bias. I tried to eliminate my own bias, because this list would be completely and utterly different if it was my bias. So this is basically what I've seen over the years and how I feel bands are most represented on this list. But so popular was this one that I knew we had to do a number two, so part B. The reason we have to do it is because there's easily another 50 bands that could be in the most iconic status, according to some people. So I put together another 25 of the most iconic bands in rock history. Many of these could have easily been on the first list. Some of these I don't know how iconic they are. There are some bands that will not appear on this list, and for some people that's going to be upsetting, because some of these bands to them are among the greatest bands ever. And to be honest with you, there's two or three of them that come to mind almost immediately that I love. I think they're among the greatest bands of all time. But are they iconic? Are they popular? Are they beloved by millions of people? Are they thought of world over by the general population? That's probably the most accurate thing. General population, how do they feel about those bands? And these three bands that I'm thinking of right now, I don't even know if half the people in the world even know they exist, or half of the people who listen to rock music know they exist. So I couldn't in all consciousness put them on the list, because I just felt that they weren't, well, great and fantastic and among my favorites. I just don't think that they belonged in the iconic status, so I didn't put them there. So anyways, we'll be doing a part B of that on Wednesday night. Thursday night we're doing metal this week, featuring a band called Bad Wolves. I've listened to all three of their studio albums. They came out they released their first album in 2017. They've been around since just slightly before that, like 2016, I think. So I've listened to all three of their bands. I like them quite a bit. I'm hoping, I've listened to all three albums now. I got kind of an understanding of their history, how their dynamics work and that kind of stuff. And this is not a prog metal band. This is a straight metal band. Although they do have some pop elements to their music as well. So anyways, that's the band we'll be doing for metal on Thursday night, and that will be coming out at 8 o'clock as well. Bad Wolves and their three albums and their history. For metal, that is. Okay, so then Friday night again, Monster Hits. This will be the third episode. Or third? No, actually, I think this might be the fourth one. I'm not sure which year it is, but it's year 1972 anyway. 1972. I've chosen 10 again because because I did 2 with 5, and then last week I did 10. This week I'm doing another 10. We'll be doing 10 from now on, especially in the 70s when there's so many great songs in one year. It'd be hard to narrow it down to 5. I had a hard time narrowing it down to 10. Actually, to be honest, I had a hard time narrowing it down to 30. But I narrowed it down to 30 of those great hits that were big blockbusters and did very well on the charts, sold a lot, that kind of stuff. So we've got 10 more for this week. Okay, and then we get down to the series for the week. This is the this getting down to the nitty gritty. The top 10 now, actually 9, because the Beatles were. These guys were yesterday morning, and today we started with another band. Today, I will get some flack for some of the people I think I put at the top, but it's okay. It's just subjective. These are just the bands that I liked and the vocalists that I like according to my own preferences. You may have completely different preferences. In fact, if you had the same preferences with me, I wouldn't understand that, really. So you just have to enjoy the preferences you have, and this is a chance for me to talk about the bands that I think had 2 or more vocalists that were lead vocalists that were fantastic. There may be some that I haven't even thought of, and I'm sure that some people will bring them up, and that's good for me. No, some of them I may not have thought of because I simply haven't followed them. So if I haven't followed them, I can't know that stuff about them. Anyways, so we have 7 more this week going, starting tomorrow and going to next Saturday, and then we'll have 2 for the following week. Okay, so anything new coming up? I do have a number I may release if I have opportunity. I'm still in the process of job hunting, so it's taking up quite a bit of time, but I do have one from one of my off shows that I do, like, periodically, one-offs, and the one that I'm thinking of is a what's the difference, which is one that I have in mind, which will show up somewhere during the week if I get a chance to do it. And I haven't got anything else in the works for those other shows, but that one I do, so that may show up somewhere. I'm not quite sure yet. Also, there's been a suggestion that maybe the show that which one was it? What was the difference? I've lost my train of thought here for a second. I can't remember what it was now. So not the Great Album Challenge, the other one, the Forward Champion, which we did last week. There's been a thought that maybe that might be a good show to do weekly, so there's not so much time between episodes, so people don't forget about it and forget to vote and stuff like that. So that might become a weekly show, and then I will move metal to another night and put another show opposite of it once alternating. And I'm thinking it's Tuesday nights is the only night that I have free, so I may do that on Tuesday and have another show that I have yet to predetermine which one I may want to do that way with. So but yeah, we'll talk about it and we'll see what happens. So anyways, that's it for this week. That's the shows that will be coming on this week. I hope you can come in and see some of these shows. I think they'll be enjoyable, and I have a great time. It's a great time for me anyways, and I hope you have a good night. Please hit the like button below and subscribe. If you have any comments, please leave them below, and we will see you this week on one of my shows. So have yourself a good evening. Take care. Goodbye.